My wife and I have been together for 8 years. When she told me about the business trip she was planning on taking, I thought it was a little odd because she worked as a bank teller. But she actually showed me a company email she received, explaining that all employees were required to attend paid training over the course of 1 weekend in Tennessee. However, she forgot to turn off location sharing on her phone, which led me to discover that she was actually at a bar. I was surprised to see her there, sitting with another man. I watched them drink for 3 hours from the opposite side of the restaurant. I confided in my closest friend about what I saw, even though my wife was supposed to be on a business trip. He was shocked and asked me what I was going to do. I decided to start filming. I was extremely upset when I caught them kissing on video. My friend tried to console me, but nothing could calm me down at that moment. Eventually they left and I followed them from a distance. My wife got into the driver's seat of the man's car, leaving her car at the bar. I was not happy about this at all. It was very unsettling. As I watched her drive, she had trouble staying on the road. I decided to call the police and gave them the license plate number of the man's car. I followed them from a distance of about half a mile on the highway before a police officer found them. She was swerving badly, even more than when I called. I then saw her get pulled over before passing them. I was satisfied with the consequences my wife was facing at this point. I then drove to a secluded area and sat there thinking about what happened until I received a phone call. It was my wife calling from the police station. She asked me to bear with her while she told me one hell of a story. She explained that her business trip was canceled, so she went to the bar with her friends before coming home. She said her car was left at the bar because her friend was driving her home. However, she then realized she made a mistake in her story. She was being charged with a DUI and needed me to bail her out, but she accidentally told me her friend was driving her home. If that was the case, she wouldn't be facing a DUI charge. Besides that, she probably knew I would ask about her friend. In her frustration, she hung up on me before I could even ask her anything. I later found out that she had called her dad before calling me back. Apparently, she received multiple phone calls from jail. The only reason she called me back was because her dad refused to bail her out. She said she had to tell me the truth, but hoped I would listen to her and be understanding. She explained that she was driving her friend home when she got pulled over and arrested for a DUI. After my initial shock over the news, I asked her who her friend was and how she planned to get home if her friend was too drunk to drive. She said she was going to spend the night there and sober up before driving home. But I still wanted to know who her friend was. She only gave me the name of Sarah. She said she didn't know her last name. How silly. I warned her that if I was going to bail her out, I was going to ask the police who she was with when she was arrested. This stunned her, and she probably wondered if the police would tell me that information. At this point, she was backed into a corner, so she reluctantly agreed and begged me to come get her. I said I would, but ultimately didn't. I called her company to speak with her boss and asked if they had canceled an employee training seminar scheduled for this weekend in Tennessee. However, she had no idea what I was talking about. I thanked her for her time, but before I hung up, I made sure to inform her that my wife had been charged with a DUI and served divorce papers, so she probably wouldn't be coming into work for a while. She would have a lot to explain to her boss and coworkers if she wasn't fired. I couldn't bail her out. I had to let her face the consequences of her foolishness. She lied to my face and even went as far as creating a fake company email to try and deceive me. If I hadn't coincidentally gone to the same bar that night, I never would have known she was with another man. I had a video of them kissing, and along with her arrest, it was the perfect time to file for divorce. When she was pulled over, she was in his car and driving towards his home. It was clear that she had planned to spend the whole weekend with him, as that's what she fabricated the lie for. This only proves to me that she was planning to sleep with him repeatedly, or perhaps already had. She was absolutely devastated when she was released. She even tried to rekindle things with the man in question, but he was no longer interested. It's pretty pathetic if you ask me. She gave up our 8-year-long relationship for someone who didn't want her after just 3 months. Sometimes I wish this was all just a bad dream, and she had actually gone on a business trip like she claimed. She even left me a voicemail saying the same thing. Meanwhile, I can't help but feel a sense of satisfaction that she got a DUI and was caught in the epic way that she was. I can't even imagine what would have happened if I hadn't found her that night. I may have unknowingly raised a child that wasn't even mine. For that reason alone, I am grateful. OP, I am sorry that you had to experience the shock and betrayal of finding your wife at a bar with another man. You trusted her and believed she was where she said she was, but it turned out to be false. This only reinforces the fact that you made the right decision to divorce her. It was only a matter of time before she would have tried to sneak away again. She didn't seem remorseful beyond the fact that she was caught. When someone goes to such lengths as forging evidence to support their lies, it is a major red flag. But I have hope for you, OP. You are a strong and wise individual who will have no problem moving on from this. You were clever to call the police on her for drunk driving. Not only was she disrespecting and cheating on you, but she was also putting other people's lives at risk. I hope she has learned her lesson, and I wish you all the best going forward. Now let's move on to today's second story. I'm about to tell you a truly messed up tale. One messed up story that I can't believe happened to me. First, let's start off with some background information. I had a large family with many siblings, uncles, aunts, cousins, and their spouses and children. We often had family gatherings and big dinners. When I started dating Laylee, my girlfriend and now wife, I would bring her to many of these social events. I was 34 years old and Laylee was 31 when I proposed. My parents thought I took a long time to propose, so when we got engaged, they threw a big engagement party with all of our relatives in attendance. Laylee didn't have any family of her own. At first, I found it hard to believe, but she really didn't have any family. She had foster parents who moved away when she turned 18 and started living on her own. Before I proposed, I told Laylee that I couldn't have children of my own. I had survived cancer at the age of 14, and infertility was one of the consequences. She told me she didn't mind and we could always adopt if we wanted children. The engagement party was a huge success. It was a wonderful night for both of us, surrounded by friends and what was now our family. 1 month after the engagement party, I received the greatest surprise of my life. Laylee told me she was pregnant. I was overjoyed and couldn't believe it. I saw it as a miracle. I immediately called my parents, and they were ecstatic, screaming with excitement on the phone. It was no surprise when they couldn't contain their excitement and sent out invitations for a baby shower. When we looked at the invitations my mom had designed, I noticed that Laylee seemed disheartened. She blamed it on pregnancy hormones, but I could tell she felt ashamed or embarrassed. I couldn't understand why, and I tried to ask her about it, but she assured me she was fine. During the party, I was on cloud 9. I was so happy about becoming a father that I didn't even realize Laylee had disappeared for a while. My younger brother pulled me aside and told me I needed to see Laylee. I was immediately concerned. We went upstairs and stopped outside the spare bedroom door. I could hear her crying and softly speaking to someone. Another man. It quickly dawned on me that the man in the bedroom with Laylee was my older brother, Louis. I looked at my younger brother Tommy in shock as I listened to them talking. His expression seemed to confirm that he knew it was Louis. Louis was furious. He was calling Laylee names and telling her she should have taken Plan B or had an abortion instead of telling me she was pregnant. He said they were in a difficult situation because of her actions. He tried to justify it by saying that since they couldn't tell me the truth, they had to come up with a plan. They couldn't tell anyone the baby was his. Maybe she could fall down the stairs or do something to miscarry. Laylee was the first one to come out, and we stared at each other. Louis came out shortly after, hopefully not planning to push Lily down the stairs, and froze when he saw us. I was having an out-of-body experience when I attacked my brother. I don't remember the moments I was beating him, but I do remember when 5 of my family members pulled me off of him. That's when I realized there was lots of yelling and crying. Lots of questions and accusations. I looked Lily in the eyes, through all the people crowding the hallway, when I announced that the wedding was off. I stumbled down the stairs, so Tommy came to my side and drove me to his apartment. Apparently, the mass chaos took a while to simmer down after I left. Since I discovered them and the secret was out, Louis announced that he was the father of Lily's child. Everyone gasped, some people cried, many of my cousins started yelling at Louis, getting in his face and calling him out for being so self-centered and inconsiderate. Louis didn't feel remorse for what he had done, only that he was caught. In his mind, this was Lily's problem because she didn't take care of it. Since he found all of the family criticism less than desirable, he left. He found a woman to stay with in the next state over. While I grieved, my family members took turns staying with me at my house or having me stay with them at their house. My dream of getting married and having a child was gone just as quickly as it appeared. But in that short amount of time, I had invested so much hope and energy. I felt drained and discouraged, but apparently this was nothing compared to what Lily was going through. Immediately after the hellish baby shower, she found herself homeless. Without me or my family's support, she was alone. After spending a few days on the streets, she managed to find a room to stay in with a roommate. She continuously messaged me, even though I would rarely reply. I was in recovery mode. It felt like I was in shock for a while after this, because I was also coping with the betrayal of my brother. She would ask me to spend time with her because of how badly she wanted companionship, especially as she neared the due date of the baby without any plan or way to support it. I told her no, she needed to handle herself because this was the consequence of her choice. If she needed to, of course, she could put the child up for adoption, but that was not my concern. Your story just goes to show that cheating never happens without consequences for those involved. Even though your fiancé tried to hide the fact that you were not the father, the truth came out. It's shocking that she would cheat on you with your brother, and that your brother would also go behind your back. That's devastating news. It is a relief to hear that, even though you had to go through this level of betrayal, you had lots of family support. I am so glad you discovered the truth. You basically have an opportunity to get your life back. I wish you the best going forward. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's stories. Take care.